but it's still the ramifications of like the multi-stream shared chat. Like Twitch has to have its own chat on screen or something like that. Still, it has like there's some stipulation.
I don't know about that part. I've never heard this.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
You
know better than me.
yeah, but in any case, like the point is, you can it's I one like my kick stream is not even that popular. And
Yet.
I think. Yeah, well, one day maybe. But anyway, yeah, it's not even that big of a deal, and I don't think like people really care. I think it's more like the things that you do on these different platforms. Honestly, is the bigger issue. You're not like trying to get kids to gamble. I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that.
It's
Also,
down.
in case you don't know, in case you are looking for one, there is a tool, or there's multiple tools out there, but there's a tool that I use for multi-stream chats, so you can see everything in one spot, right? Rather than having to have the open chats in different places. Yeah, there's a tool that I use. It's called a streamer bot.
Yeah, I got that one.
Okay,
it's weird.
yeah.
Like there's not one thing that has all of the there's not everything. Like the YouTube gifs like don't work in the streamer bot thing. I like missed that. The streamer the super chats are good, but then so yeah, it's weird. But I've actually decided kind of like as a thing to not include chat on screen. I don't know. I think that it's like a thing I want to have that image or like control my stream and not give it over to someone that's spamming or.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. That's one of the reasons why I don't do it. Because people can get their thing, whatever message they want immediately on your screen. You can't really control it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but then again, at the same time, right, there are much bigger streams who allow that, and like crazy things get on their screen. And like I think basically, at least the way Twitch does it, I think is like if your mods are immediately like handling it, then it's not that big of a deal. But I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not a big stream, and I'm gonna risk it. So.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And I don't know. There's not really that much benefit to having it there. Like
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
The big screens are literally.
I think there's definitely some people out there that like they want to be able to see their messages on screen.
I think especially the bigger streams, like you literally can't see it. It's just the rate of messages that are flying by, and that's how people know that it's like a big moment or whatever. You can't even see it.
But I do think some people like, like just like there's the dopamine hit of like clicking on something and scrolling. I think there's some sort of dopamine hit of like just seeing your message flash on a screen. I don't know for some people.
Yeah. No, I can see that I can see it. Not really one of those people, but like I could see that being the case. But I don't know how many of those people subscribe for that. Like yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't listen to me. Like I have virtually no audience. So.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, another week. Another time. I mean, they've done such a good job. The Trump administration really reined it in this week. No big science news, nothing going on. They fixed all the problems. They hired the experts back. They did it.
All the pool cleaning experts.
The pool. Oh my God. Guys, I'm not kidding. My science chat, my scientist friends that I've known for 16 years now. We were algae scientists. That's the type of thing. We met in an algae biofuels lab, and an algae is like the news item right now. It is actually wild, and we're like trying to like talk and brainstorm. Like, what do we do? Like, how can we utilize this? Like, what do we need to do? It's wild. Algae's everywhere.
Algae being the news topic, happening like 3 times in their lifetimes. It's either this one. Or like the poison algae bloom that like happens off the coast of Florida or something, like every so often.
It's slightly bad algae bloom sometimes, it's slightly.
Like imagine like being like married to an algae scientist, and then I'm coming home inside. It's like excited, like I'm in the news. Like my time has come.
We made it. We did it. We
You
did
said
it.
my
It
job
definitely
was
feels.
boring, but now who's got the last laugh?
Exactly.
Exactly. All those decades studying algae, today's the day. It all
Yeah.
Today's
pays
the
off.
day.
So true. Yeah, we
But
made
yeah,
it,
like
team.
my understanding, and I
Hmm.
haven't looked deeply into this, so
Hmm.
well, Dr. Greg, I'd love to hear your thoughts. But like my understanding is that like, so like we're talking about like the reflecting pool in Washington D.C., right? It's right in
Hmm.
front of the Washington Monument, very long pool, right? Not longer than any building in the world. This is an amazing thing that Donald Trump said. Did you guys hear this? Right? Donald
Hmm.
Trump said
I
that
remember it
like
showed like
if
the
you
the graph or like the figure of.
Oh yeah, what was that? That was the craziest graph. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Go
I
ahead. Go
haven't,
ahead,
haven't seen the
Ryan.
graph, so you'll have to tell me
Okay.
about that. What specifically the statement I'm talking about is he said like it's like the pool is so long, it's longer than any building in the world if you laid it down on its side.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
clearly wrong. Like not even close. Like not even close. Not even close to being true. Right?
Well,
Like we
such
don't
a
have
weird
to even
metric.
talk about like the largest buildings in the world, like that are a mile long. Right? We don't have to talk about any of those like record-setting ones. Right? Just like most like skyscrapers, like easily crushed. He just says like the dumbest, easily checkable things, and then like his like supporters just eat that crap up all the
Oh
time,
yeah.
right? They just accept, yeah, he just like makes sure he just lies to us all the time. It's just a thing that happens. It's part of his charm. And then they'll come back and say, well, but he tells the truth. He's the
Yeah.
truth teller. It's amazing.
Yeah. Was this the
Well,
Amazing.
no,
Like
but
figurative or
those instances,
literal Trump?
that's just hyperbole, right? He's just exaggerating as he usually does, except the
Exactly.
times that
yeah,
he's
it's
lying.
wild. Oh, like it's just like one of the many passing comments he puts out like multiple times a day, clear falsehoods that anyone of like two working brain cells could figure out. But he just
Yeah.
does it, and Mago thinks it's amazing. Okay, I'm going to move past it. Sorry.
I mean,
But
algae
like
exists, man. Microbes are there. You're gonna have them like go in there. You know, it's just
yeah,
a
yeah.
fact of
So
life.
my understanding is that like the pool, it like this algae thing isn't like a new problem, right? Like that, like because it's a standing body of water, right? And
Yeah.
every time you
Yeah.
do that, and my understanding also is that like so Washington D.C. is built on a swamp, right? Which is fitting. And basically that like there the concrete at some point will like get like tiny cracks, and then like material will come up, and that helps like spread the algae. But anyway, so like
Hmm.
apparently my understanding is that like since this reflecting pool was created, not the founding, but since the pool was created, this has always been an issue they've been like battling and like finding like various workarounds. There is like more some permit solutions, but like super expensive to do, and so no president has actually like made the effort. But whatever change that Donald Trump did was like wildly the wrong thing. He apparently, like my understanding is that he like used like swimming pool contractors to
Oh,
like
okay.
realign the base, because he thought like, oh, this solution that he's coming up to this problem that's always having, right, to a lesser extent, like oh, I can cheaply fix it by just using
Yeah.
swimming pool contractors, and then completely wrong. Yeah. So if you have more
Yeah.
information, I'd love to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was like a no bid contract that he gave to his neighbor. That
No big
so
contract.
it's
Yeah.
just corruption and nonsense. That I mean, it's a joke. It was just a nonsense issue that who cares? I mean, basically any type of water that's not crystal clear, a productive body of water is going to have algae and bacteria and like there's just it's natural. You have the ocean, for example. When you go out in there, if it's crystal clear water, it's actually not very productive. It's not a productive water, like you know what I mean. There's not a lot of algae, there's not a lot of dinoflagellates, there's not a lot of diatoms, and those are the three types of microbes that basically cycle, and one's eating another, and then the other one's crashing, and the other one's eating the next. It's cyclical. And when you don't have one, or the other, or one's missing, and you're just basically going to have algae, which is the primary producer, right? Primary producer means that it uses photosynthesis, it uses energy from the sun in order to grow, and that's what's happening. So you're just having a bunch of primary production in a standing body of water, and that's completely natural. I mean, algae is just, it's going to be in the air. It's algae's in the soil. Soil is going to get into the pool. It's completely natural. You'd have to like bleach it constantly, but it's just very weird. It's just a very weird problem that shouldn't have existed, but he is so in his head about it. You know, it's very weird.
Well, now he doesn't appear to be talking about it like at all, or at least as far as I can tell. Not that I'm following closely like all the stuff that he does, but like at some point, like in the lead up to this, or like before, you know, it was actually completed, he seemed to be like bragging about it, like, oh, this is going to be great once it's completed, and then now that it's complete and you have this problem, it seems like he just wants to move on or just like not mention it at all.
Exactly. It's it's a great example of his leadership, man. You know what I mean? It's just a fake issue that he tries to paint over literally, you know, and try to not engage with. Gives it it's a payout for his friend, and then now they don't understand the issue. There's no expertise in it, you know, and that's where we're at. Yeah, the hydrogen peroxide's actually deteriorating the polymer that's connecting the paint to the pool, so big chunks of the paint are just sloughing off. There's like huge, like a foot long chunks that are just coming off. So the hydrogen peroxide like is a really bad idea. So there's just
using the hydrogen peroxide to kill the algae.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
And then the hydrogen peroxide is like destroying the lining, the whole big lining.
Exactly.
His whole deal like was like, I want to put the blue lining down so it looks blue now, guys.
American flag blue, no lag.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a great example, man. It's a great it's a great example of his leadership and his failure as a president, where it's a fake leadership, fake ideas, focusing on the wrong thing, focusing on I don't know. It's just like I keep wondering, like, when are we gonna have our emperor has no clothes moment with this guy, you know, for all these people that support him still, you know. I hopefully maybe Iran is it. I've been debating with like Trumpers, and now this seems to be something that they don't understand. And maybe the Epstein files is another thing. They all feel like they've been duped. They were all duped, and he's like gone back on his word. And you just keep talking to him, going, "No, he was like this. This is not anything new. He was like this the entire time. We've known this since. He hasn't changed since 11 years, and here we are."
And I think, I think it's obvious that I think this was all in the lead up to like July 4th, right?
Exactly.
As in like to have it ready. And I'm curious like how it's going to play out. Is it just not going to be?
It's not July 4th. It was his birthday party. It was his birthday party.
Well, no, for preparation of that, but there's also but there's also the aspect of like also July 4th as well. But
yeah. Oh, it's no, dude. Don't you understand, Corey? No, you don't get it. So let me tell you. This is something that I learned with the UFC ads and everything that they ran. If you watched it, guys, you would have expected Flag Day was bigger in the United States than July 4th. They basically talked and drummed this, basically Trump happens to be born on Flag Day, which is a holiday in the United States that nobody knew about until Trump was elected office. And now MAGA thinks that it's like the #1 most decorated patriotic holiday like in the world, and they have parades for Flag Day. The ads were talking about how brave and amazing the Flag Day is, and how in the War of 1812, like the besieged United States was on its brink, and until they wrote the Star Spangled Banner, and he saw the flag, and that was like our turning point as a nation when we like really came into our own. And it's like I'm telling you, the story of Flag Day is actually in these ads was actually seen to be bigger than July 4th. It was so funny, man. These guys they didn't even know about Flag Day, but now it's like That's their biggest thing. And I mean, it's just obvious, like watching the UFC thing, it was just obviously a birthday celebration for Trump, right? And
Did you watch
it's
it?
just, it's
Or
such a
did you
joke.
get to
Oh yeah,
watch
of
it?
course. I've been watching UFC for like 25 years, man. And it's like, it is so embarrassing, that one, how he gets a bigger walkout and more attention from the media and the UFC media and the production team and the UFC than fighters themselves. He gets a greater, like, more people in his walkout. They have bigger times devoted to it, and it's a joke, man. Like the whole point of the thing is it's the fighters, and here this guy is taking this stage away, taking the limelight away, and the fighters aren't getting anything out of it. They're not getting paid anything more from it. And if he's there and he's a fan, then okay, like, pan to him and he's just there and he says hi, okay, whatever. But the fact that he's taking so much time, I think it was a joke. And my big problem with it is that he literally owns stock of the company that owns the UFC, and the whole government and the buildings and the White House is being used as an ad in order to like sell this product. So it's just, I mean, that's so corrupt.
Yeah. Well, I obviously agree. I didn't watch it, and I don't think I had the ability to watch it in Canada. I don't know exactly how if I want to access it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Either way, definitely, I don't know. Just very weird, that event.
It's very weird. It was the fights. Yeah, Nico, the fights were incredible. Like there were some really good fights, and they were all, and it's just, it's pathetic. Like all of the guy making the thing about Michelle Obama, like rent free, bro. Obamas are living rent free in these guys' head for how long now? Over 10 years. And Obama's, aren't even public figures. Like Trump has been a public figure since he's like walked into politics, but Obamas have kind of like walked into the shadows and aren't a big thing. But like to just bring them up, I think it was completely cringe. And all the fighters kind of like after they win, they go over and be like, happy birthday, I'm so happy that you're here, this is amazing, and like saluting him and stuff like that. It's just cringe, man.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at a Washington Post article.
Yeah.
It says the hydrogen peroxide, at least this article says hydrogen peroxide might not be causing the peeling. Instead, like what that might do is like um, the quote here is less of a sheet peeling off and more like fading, hazing, or breakdown of the material could cause that. But he said otherwise, like what's probably causing this is that like and this is a pool expert saying that like the pool surface wasn't properly treated, and then sense. Yeah, it allows pieces to like to fall off like that. But like I just wanted to like point out a quote here, and this is just like something that pisses me off in general, and I'm guessing you two will agree. So they get a quote from the Interior Department, right? And the agency said in a statement on Wednesday that it is treating the pool with hydrogen peroxide and quote high-tech nanobubble ozone technology to like okay, this is the thing that bothers me all the time, right? Like when I need to sell a product to you, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put like science buzzword bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So like nanotechnology, like what the hell is it? High-tech nanobubble ozone technology. What is this? This sounds like some BS. This sounds like some
that's
straight
definitely BS.
Right?
It's definitely BS.
Was,
I mean,
largely, yes.
Yeah. And if it was a computer, right? This is like was a computer problem. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, we're solving it with like quantum technology." like it's just like BS. You, right? You got to swallow that. But yeah,
it's all marketing.
Like I'm definitely not a pool expert, but like even the hydrogen peroxide, even if it's not causing whatever the paint to peel or whatnot, and not causing damage to like whatever the pool structure. Not that I'm an expert, but like
just badly done,
well, like it's just it's poorly thought. Like from what I remember from my basic chemistry, and maybe they should consult a chemist. I don't think that they did. Like hydrogen peroxide degrades like very quickly when exposed to like light. As in, like, there's a reason why when you buy hydrogen peroxide, it's pretty much always in a dark bottle, because as soon, even when you open a bottle of hydrogen peroxide, like over months, or depending on how it's stored, maybe over years, that potency of the hydrogen peroxide degrades. And if you're just going to pour hydrogen peroxide in a giant pool exposed to sunlight, it's just going to be all degraded in probably a matter of like hours or days, and you're going to be back to square one.
So had to
It's
keep pouring.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what they did, and you can see that in the aerial footage, they basically only they thought they would dilute out, and they poured it in only at the outer edges, so you could see like that it didn't dilute
A
and it just like
rectangle
basically
inside the
sank.
rectangle?
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw like
So
a
you
ring
actually,
around it.
yeah. So you actually had people like walking around with hydrogen peroxide, like putting them in. It's just it's a joke, man. It's a joke. It's very funny.
But like this is what happens, right? Like, and it's, I mean, it's what we say every week, right? This is what happens when like people have a disdain for expertise. Like Donald Trump thought like he was not like, just like he thinks he's an expert in everything. He thought he was an expert in like polls and like 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 I don't know, man. Like I would just like defer to people who might know what the hell they're talking about. But then again, like if it's his, a person he knows who's like put money in his pocket, well then yeah, I don't know, whatever, sure. Like he can, yeah. Donald Trump doesn't know any better. Donald Trump won't ask anyone, right, for a second opinion. It's like, hey, I'm about to do this. In fact, I'm gonna make this like a big thing. Like it's not like I did. He did this quietly, right? It's like, oh, let's just like do some work on this thing, right? He made this a media point, right, for weeks, talking about the reflecting pool, right, as if he had like consulted experts, like consulted like multiple people, and like really sat down. And this is like, okay, like this is a present to America. He was going to do, but he didn't do any of that. Right, because he's lazy, he doesn't care, right? None of it matters. And so once again, he like bumbled himself into this, right? An easily avoidable situation. Like just and he could have and it was crazy because like I said, like it is the whatever actual remedial issues that would solve this like can be done, right? Like there are some more permanent solutions to this, but they're going to be expensive. Yeah, they would have cost like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of like what the Iran war costs, right? Like a fraction of what a day of the Iran war costs, right? Like you could have just like authorized that, like serious restructuring, and it would have been good because if you had actually done that, right? Then yeah, actually, like like the reason why this pool looks so good is because of Donald Trump. But no, he didn't bother. In fact, he's like, I'm gonna get a deal. I got some great deal.
I know a guy.
Whatever joker he hired to do this doesn't have the ability to do that kind of remediation, right? So like whatever, he just offered a solution. Donald Trump too stupid to know otherwise, right? To even think otherwise, or to hire or to consult like the massive federal government at his beck and call, right? That can actually answer and research these questions for you, provide you a detailed report. None of that happened. None of it happened.
Yeah.
And then like we have neon green water, which Fox News tells you, don't believe your lying eyes, it's blue.
It's just the reflection. Yeah, exactly. It's just the angle.
I think even the like, if I remember correctly, although I don't want to like spread misinformation, but I think even like the Interior Department like sent out a tweet saying like the water's crystal clear.
Family thing. Be right back. 5 minutes.
As I'm gonna bring up the tweet. I don't know if they say it was like crystal clear, but like they sort of like they somehow incorporate I think like the Iran war as well in the tweet. It's a very bizarre tweet. If in fact it's true. Again, I'm going to
actually, I'm looking at the Washington Post article in the next paragraph that I didn't read previously, right? It says, one Thursday, the Interior Department press office posted on Twitter that, quote, the reflecting pool water is crystal clear, and our National Park Service team is now backing up the dead algae resting on the bottom of some parts of the reflecting pool, just like and then they say, space, just like the destroyed Iranian Navy resting on the bottom of the Persian Gulf. It's wild. Like they're just lying to you, and they just casually do it all the time.
And like, this is on paper there should be like an easy optical win for this administration, right? And like from what I understand, like this is not like a unique problem to like the Trump administration. I believe I'm sure other presidents have had issues with the reflecting pool, but like if he's so competent. And if he's like, has the biggest brain according to him, like this should be like an easy optical win. At least that's what I would hope. And yeah, the fact that based off of the tweet that you read out, it's like they're I don't know, like I don't know how you can get away with lies like this. So just like literally, everyone can easily fact check this. It's not crystal clear.
Easily.
And then just the poor taste of like, yeah, with that Iranian navy resting on the bottom of the Persian Gulf. Just like, I don't know how anybody.
You mean the Iranians who just kicked your ass?
True. Yeah, there's that aspect too.
Dude, the deal is so bad. It was so insane. But yeah, but false alarm.
Oh,
okay. Okay, so let's get to the news for the week, man. It's been wild. Big story. DOJ seeks to halt air pollution lawsuit against the xAI data center. The department cited national security concerns, saying Elon Musk's company had played a crucial role in the Iran war. It also argued it had the authority to stop environmental lawsuits brought by citizens. In an unusually aggressive move, the Justice Department told a federal court in Mississippi that Elon Musk's artificial intelligence company, xAI, has the right to run dozens of polluting gas-burning turbines in the state despite not having permits for them. The Justice Department late on Monday said that the court should throw out a lawsuit against xAI that was brought by the NAACP, claiming that the turbines violate the Clean Air Act. The suit threatens national security by, quote, seeking to shut off the power supply for artificial intelligence innovation that supports the Department of War's military operations, end quote, according to the memo, which was signed by Stanley Woodward Jr., Associate Attorney General and the number 3 official at the department. I think it's just wild to me that there is the Justice Department. It's clear, right? I mean, he doesn't have the permits for these data centers. The data centers are, violating.
He got some sort of exception. At least what's made in like he shouldn't have gotten it, in my opinion. But like, it seems like
yes, exactly. And it's like, and it reminds me of what's happening in Texas too. Tesla is just openly polluting into waterways. Like how is Elon Musk allowed to do all of these exceptions to just constantly get around and skirt all these regulations?
It's a good question. And I was
exactly.
And I think I'm curious how this is going to play out. Like obviously, or not, maybe not obviously, but I think it's pretty clear at least. People's sentiments in North America towards AI is, I think, pretty like not favorable. As I think overall, I think based off of recent polling, like people are not on board with AI, especially AI data centers. And like I think this is only going to fuel that anger even more and the pushback against AI data centers. I don't know how you can justify this.
And like I love the idea of pharmaceutical companies are evil inherently.
True.
In this MAHA worldview, right, where it's like they are evil because of what they do, because for whatever reason. But the xAI, under the same like capitalist profit motive and all that stuff, just openly polluting. Is Eli Lilly polluting the community? Is a community pool? Or
those pharmaceutical companies are making those poisonous vaccines, but if you're poisoning the air, exactly, then it's okay, as long as it's
exactly,
as long as you're inhaling it 24/7 in your community.
It has an impact. These are the guys that were trying to keep people healthy by like stopping all of these forever chemicals and trying to stop this pollution of glyphosate, or however they viewed the environment impacting health. That was their whole thing, that the environment had a huge impact on people's health, keep making people diseased. And now they're coming through telling people kind of like what's happening. They're speaking truth to power, and here they increase glyphosate production, increase the amount of forever chemicals, increase PFAS regulation, deregulation, allow xAI to pollute without any type of permits, just over and over again, man.
Yeah, I'm curious how this is going to intersect, or rather, I hope it actually does intersect with the MAHA movement. Like, if there's any positive that this movement can do, I would think it would be like being against these polluting AI data centers. Because it's like, if these are in their communities, pumping out all of those pollutants from the gas turbines, or even if they're not gas, like, I don't see how.
Yeah.
I think they're generally pretty anti.
I mean, Mississippi.
overall.
Mississippi, it's going to be, I don't know what it is, but I mean, gas, it's going to be natural gas, like 90%. I'm 90% sure it's going to be natural gas. Most parts of the country, it's going to be natural gas. So it's just, and the fact that they come in and they actually, the Department of Justice of all things, like decide with the producer, the polluter of yeah, it's just, and the justification. What are we do, guys? This is like a national security threat. Like what are they running? What's the Department of Defense running through the XAI Grok? What do they do? What are they using it for?
I mean, yeah, like I'm definitely not a national security expert, but it seems like not the greatest idea if your whatever defense systems are relying on like a data center in whatever Mississippi, Tennessee. That seems like a problem. But like, what do I know?
Yeah.
I'm not...
No, I don't know about that. Like they already relying on like various data centers for like storage, right? Like you like forget like working on data, just like storing data, right? Like they use massive databases in general. So like having it in another facility, like you can have like a federally approved facility, right? That like meets a certain level of security standards, right? Like they have contracts with like Amazon, Google, and what have you, for exactly that. So that part in itself doesn't bother me. It's more like if the output of Grok being like the least of the major offerings, AI offerings, is like useful. And doing anything like Grok,
It's the
like
worst.
way behind the times, right? And everyone knows
Yeah.
it. Like it's very clear, right? Is actually like a useful thing to use. So yeah, that's my only problem.
Yeah.
I mean, the number one use for Grok is basically the fact that you can have it's used for companionship. People are using it because it does like weird relationship things that no one other thing does. And then also making adult material. Basically, you can just pay for like $40 a month to make whatever video of whatever content you want, and just
That
yes.
seems to be what Elon Musk pushes. And
Yes, literally. That's what that's the differentiator. I mean, it's so there's no way that they're actually using Grok to run anything. They're already on Anthropic about like having access to their stuff
and
and
didn't
OpenAI. So
Elon Musk himself say, I could be misremembered, but didn't he himself say like Grok was like built poorly from the beginning and needs to be rebuilt from the ground up?
I mean, well, he just bought Cursor, so so I mean, they're very lagging behind, like in development in terms of actually being in need. But why, like, just the running the defense? I just the NAACP alleges that the XAI currently operates 57 gas turbines in Mississippi to cover its Colossus 2 data center located near the border of Tennessee without pollution controls required by the Clean Air Act. This makes the facility one of the country's biggest single industrial sources of smog-forming nitrogen oxide, the plaintiffs allege, as well as a significant source of other harmful air pollutants like particulate matter and formaldehyde, disproportionately affecting vulnerable groups like children, older adults, and low-income and minority households.
So
I mean, this is exactly what they were talking about, like MAHA and and RFK.
I had known about this particular problem for months. With their Colossus data center. Like this has been ongoing for quite a while. Now, don't quote me on this, but like I think the issue is, again, don't quote me on this, but like my understanding was that like they couldn't get like the appropriate level of power from like the grid. And this is like an ongoing issue with these like new data centers, right? Like
that sounds right.
Not as
based off what I read.
Sorry?
I said that sounds correct to me based off of what I've read as well.
Yeah. So like not as many are being built as like people think. Only because, well, for many reasons, but like there are a bunch of like issues, barriers in the way of like finishing construction, right? Not the least of which is like the cost of filling them with GPUs. But like one of the reasons, and it's a big reason, is finding places with an electrical um, uh, uh, system, right? Like an electrical infrastructure that can support this, right, and like provide enough power and all that, right? We're not even bringing up like raising everyone else's electric bills. We're ignoring that for now. But like one, it's just finding a place with the level of infrastructure, a big issue, right? But even then, right, actually like hooking up your center, right, to that infrastructure requires like certain critical equipment, and that critical equipment, these like transformers and whatnot, right? Like there are a few companies that they make those. There are back orders like for years at this point, like super long back orders, and so
Yeah,
like
literally.
you just literally cannot finish the construction. This is why was it what's his name? I'm gonna say is like he's got that moniker, Mr. Wonderful. You know what I'm talking about? The
yeah.
You know
I
his
know who
name?
you're talking about, the Shark Tank guy.
Shark Tank guy. Yeah.
Oh, O'Leary, Kevin O'Leary.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Your guy, Corey.
Yes, he's Canadian. Unfortunately, I'm not a fan.
Yeah,
He's your guy's Elon Musk.
one of Corey's blood brethren.
Best friends.
Yeah, like an uncle who used to visit.
No, you can have him. I'm glad he's in the U.S.
Maple brother.
But Kevin O'Leary has like been talking about like creating some like massive data center in Colorado, was it, or Utah, one of those states, right? Like people have been making like a big thing for this, right? Like, oh no, like oh my guy's coming. There's no reason, first of all, that Kevin O'Leary, who's failed upwards his entire life, right? There's no reason to think that he has the ability to do this, right? Like, period, right? Like he bought. My understanding is that he bought the land, right? May have gotten it rezoned. But like, there's no reason. So many people who are better resourced and are actually experts within the field of like logistics and construction, right, have failed doing exactly this. There's no reason to think that Kevin O'Leary can do it, right, at all. And then there's raising the capital. There's no reason to think that Kevin O'Leary can raise the capital. And then it's actually constructing it, right? And you're going to be running to all the things that I said and additional issues that I haven't covered yet. So like, this is why I'm saying, like, when I hear things like this, like mostly they're just attention grabbing. Kevin O'Leary is like lapping up attention and using it for, I'm sure, for whatever. But like, and if you just like, because people may not be familiar with this guy, right? You may not be familiar, but like, you look at his history, failure after failure that he's managed to monetize, right? Like he like screwed over Mattel. That was like, it's a whole long story. How like Mattel, like the toy corporation, bought one of his companies and they found out that it was like a dud and he practically was cooking his books. Mattel had like this female president who was in charge, and I think she like ended up resigning over like this O'Leary incident. This is years ago, like decades ago, right? But like because he's a fraud. He's just a fraud, and Mattel fell for the fraud. And so like just keep that in mind. Just like be skeptical of these headlines. Just a level of skepticism here.
Yeah, everything you said makes sense, and I'm curious how this is going to play out, because I think, as you essentially alluded to, Prime, like essentially the one of the major bottlenecks to having these AI data centers is like having either supplying them with energy or just the overall energy infrastructure, or both. And like,
or water infrastructure too.
Yeah, exactly. But then it's like, well, maybe if there was at some point, some investment in like, renewable energy technology, like maybe solar or wind or nuclear, maybe maybe there was an opportunity there to not have this bottleneck. And that's where I think, as I've made the case before, this is where I think China probably has the advantage over the long term of like
Rick Perry, who was the former governor of Texas, also pulled this very same trick. I'm not even sure I could call it a trick, right? Just faceplant, maybe more like it. Rick Perry, who has on multiple occasions like put himself at, like, he was part of this project, right? And he was just pretty much the face of the project. Rick Perry, in case you don't know anything about him, he's a very stupid man, very like a dumb idiot, right?
I remember
Who
him.
embarrassed himself and was running for president. He couldn't even remember his own plan. That was an amazing moment. In case you guys
I remember
have
that.
not seen,
And I think it was like when he was tasked to like list some like departments or like institutions of the government. Yeah.
It was Chris Christie, right? That asked him those questions. Like, anyway, go ahead.
And it was Ron. Fuck.
Oh, there you go. They were joking about it. Like, oh, there he goes again. He's gonna say the thing, and then he said.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it was Ron. Not one of the senators. And I'm forgetting his name.
Ron
His
Paul?
son is also Ron Paul. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Lad would be ashamed of me for not remembering his name. I'm just blanking. I'm sorry. But Ron Paul.
You should forget him.
He was trying to. Yeah, he was trying to finish his list for him because Rick Perry couldn't remember. Anyway, it was a classic moment. In case you haven't seen it, search for Rick Perry, like a debate, right? Presidential debate, and it's amazing. Anyway, he's a very stupid individual. He got himself involved with an AI data center construction project in Texas, appropriately, right? And they bought the land, right? And they had construction equipment, but like it's been a complete mess. It's not going to happen at all. They released a bunch of like videos of like like work is happening. It was like AI generated. It was like appropriately so, right? It was like AI like literally like you saw like a convoy like involved. It was like a convoy of like construction equipment coming through, and if you like looked into the windows of like the convoy, you look closely, there's like no drivers there. Like in the convoy, it's a mess. But like they were running into a whole series of problems, like I just said, right? Kevin O'Leary is the face of this project too. He's doing the same grift in where it goes, Colorado, wherever this place is happening, right? So once again, I'm telling you, there's no chance he's going to build it. Literally no reason to get upset and butthurt about this at all.
Yeah. There's a question from chat. How is he opening a data center without having his own software or AI? So Ruben, he's basically, these data centers are selling they're basically selling the compute power for these AI models, but by selling it, like going to the companies that like Anthropic, OpenAI, xAI, and being like, hey, if you want to run your model, you can run it with us in the cloud. And basically these places go to them and buy them. So yeah, you're exactly right, Prime. They just don't have enough power for a lot of these local build outs, and that's why like Microsoft, for example, bought 3 Mile Island for OpenAI, stuff like that. They're having to like they're having to get nuclear power involved. There's also like a lot of these are
like a really long time. I could be wrong, but
I mean
the problem was 3 Mile Island was decommissioned. I'm not sure if all the reactors were decommissioned completely, but it was in the process at least of decommissioning. You have to reverse commissioning, and that's like a difficult thing. It's like not easy. You can't just like spin these things back up. Like it's like a whole.
It's just flicking the switch. That's what I am.
But yeah, they don't just like turn it off and like walk away. It's like, I guess we're done here. No, but like it might take a while, but like it's a possibility to recommission.
Yeah, I know. Like, there's a movement to like revive nuclear power plants because it's like, well, again, maybe because as we're seeing, like, and that's where it's interesting to me. Like, China's building, as far as I understand, they're building new nuclear power plants, and like the U.S. is in the process of like, let's try to decommission or like revive our old ones. And I don't know how much that infrastructure holds up or not. I'm definitely not an expert on that. But yeah, from what I understand, like even if I think the U.S. wants to build a brand new nuclear power plant, that would take like years and years and years.
Yeah. It takes a long time. It takes a long time for it to. It's very expensive. Nuclear is by far the most expensive cost per kilowatt hour for a long time. That's why a lot of the new data centers are actually building out like renewables with it, so they'll have solar arrays and wind arrays like with it, so that they can help like generate some of their own like power renewably, so and sustainably, like long term, just so that they have their own power.
But even if there's this greater movement towards solar, I think also China wins there as well, because I think China produces like 80 to 90% of solar panels.
Yeah, they have the majority of they have the most installed solar by far. Absolutely. Okay, next up, So he's back at it again. Kennedy seeks to expedite appeal of ruling that blocked his vaccine policies. The health secretary is trying to restart the work of a panel that advises the government on vaccines after a judge froze its decision and prevented it from meeting. The Trump administration has requested an expedited appeal of a federal court ruling that blocked a series of decisions on vaccines made by HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, including rescinding routine recommendations for immunizations against a half dozen childhood diseases. Mr. Kennedy announced in a social media post on Friday that the administration had filed the motion to expedite appeal so that the federal vaccine advisors could meet to decide whether to recommend shots for the fall flu season. The move is the latest development in a lawsuit brought by 6 medical organizations, including the American Academy of Pediatrics. The suit contended that Mr. Kennedy and his appointees at the Center for Disease Control and Prevention had made arbitrary and capricious changes to the childhood vaccine schedule. It argued that the panelists Mr. Kennedy appointed to the Advisory Committee for ACIP, the Advisory Committee for Immunization Practices, a panel of outside experts, did not have the qualifications to recommend vaccinations and that their decisions endangered the health of Americans. The ruling, delivered on March 16th by a federal judge in Massachusetts, temporarily blocked Mr. Kennedy's policies while the trial continued. It froze all decisions made by the panelists Mr. Kennedy had appointed and prevented a committee from meeting as scheduled. So these are the ACIP meetings that they had, and there is something. Their justice system in this country is flawed. I think we need to relook at a lot of aspects of it, but I do appreciate how a lot of these judges, you do have to come in and at least like show your work. And a lot of times, because they're spurless and they're coming in without any new studies, without any new data, and they're rescinding things, and they're basically they're canceling contracts, they're canceling orders. The companies are losing money. So these towns have these orders coming in, and now they're not. Now it's costing them more. There's lots of things that happen when he makes these arbitrary rulings, and they're suing and they're saying, "Show us," and the judges is like, they got nothing. So what do we do? And it's what we talked about so often, is that these guys they are making this an ideological football, right? Of this, vaccines or health or whatever that is, without any data to back it up, without any like new idea. They're just making this stuff up, guys.
Yeah, at like a surface level, a very surface level, like the most superficial level, like this looks like Kennedy, or like almost like a good thing, or like trying to frame it as a good thing, of like, we just want to like convene this panel so that we can make decisions on the flu vaccine coming up in for the fall. But like, the recommendations are almost certainly going to be not good recommendations, and so I'm glad that, like, yeah, as you brought up, you have these groups like the American Academy of Pediatrics, standing the ground, saying like, no, like, we need to do better.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, it's just, it is nice to see. I don't know. It's quaint. I mean, at the end of the day, all this stuff. The problem is all this stuff is one of those things, especially in law and all these. You can just kind of appeal until it goes to SCOTUS, and SCOTUS is going to be just happen to magically find a way in order to say that Trump was actually in the right here, and it's actually a national security aspect, and the president actually has full discretionary say so on national defense issues. So that therefore, these contracts you can't stop the president from keeping us safe from something poisonous. And he actually had the power the entire time. but they also say a lot of times, like, oh, this can't actually be higher in the future, this isn't going to work, but miraculously it was there. It's just Trump used it. We didn't know that it existed until now, but he's okay that he did it, and he's immune, by the way, that he did do it.
Well, yeah, all of these, whatever, after the fact rationalizations, or whatever it takes to justify whatever actions that they want to take. I'm just curious of, like, how this could potentially, like, in your mind, what is the best case scenario in terms of how this plays out, or do you have in mind a best case scenario of how this plays out that it could?
You have to use every tool in the toolkit in order to stop this, and this is just one of those tools. I think it's like a, it's a screwdriver in the spoke wrench. It's not going to stop the train,
Yeah, that's what I
from
was gonna
going
more or
forward.
less gonna follow up with, like, is this more or less, not that I disagree with what they're doing, obviously, like, I'm in support, but like, is this basically just like delaying the inevitable of, like, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like, if Kennedy wants to implement these bad policies, it's only a matter of time before he finds a way to do it, type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, he could literally, I mean, Trump could solve this by just writing an executive order. I mean, it's just that's just is what it is. And then what are they going to do? So it's like he's and the problem is that as the Supreme Court has ruled before, district court judges don't have the power to actually fight back against the president of the United States. This is something that came up in an earlier ruling, basically that a judge had stopped the presidential power. Hey, thank you. Oh, thank you, F1 super chat in appreciation of Prime and Corey. Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Nice.
Much
Thank
appreciated.
you.
So yeah, I think it's I don't know, man. I think you have to use every tool in the toolkit in order to stop this stuff. But I don't think that it could.
I agree. Like,
I don't know what else you do. Yeah.
That's where it's like, yeah, I'm not even sure what the solution is, because, but it does seem like a flaw, that, like, if ultimately it's like, if more or less, like, if the president can more or less dictate vaccine guidelines, recommendations, it's like, well, then what's the point of having any institution at all? But like, I don't know how to solve that problem. Like, I'm not sure there's a good solution.
That is you're pointing out the problem of the Trump has irreversibly, in my view, pointed out a fatal flaw in the United States Constitution that can't be fixed unless we have a
lot of them
rewrite the
pointed. I
Constitution.
mean, I agree. He pointed it out, but I think it's more a testament of, like, at the end of the day, like, the country functions based off of, like, good faith, and, like, good faith belief largely in these institutions of, like, they have a role, they overall have a good track record, because, like, yes, if you find every loophole, and you can, like, I don't think you can craft any amount of laws that, like, someone can't find a loophole around. And so it's like, yes, I guess Trump is exposing these loopholes, but then if it's more or less, by my estimation, but I'd be happy to be wrong, but by my estimation, if it's impossible to patch these loopholes, then, like, what do you do for the next Trump?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think that you have to have the Democrats push these same holes that exist in our Constitution so hard that the Republicans hate it, and then we have, like, a mutually assured, like, okay, wow, that was we really went too far in the paint there, and they kind of both say this probably isn't the best to have, like, an authoritarian government when we should be, going through democracy and our Constitution. But I don't see any. That's why that's the only path, or we just continue down this fascist route, and that's the problem that I see, man. I think he's exposed. Basically, any given scenario, if there is a national defense plausibility way to talk or bring that into it, the president has full discretion now and can do whatever they want with full immunity. So,
as in, like, if I'm understanding you correctly, of, like, Democrats, if or when they get into power or return to power, like, that, they have to do everything in their power to more or less, whatever, quote unquote, punish the Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, 1.5 trillion dollar defense budget. President AOC comes in and says, "Hey, it's a national security threat. Our healthcare system is a national security threat because it impacts troop readiness, and we have to have universal healthcare. So universal healthcare is now paid by the military and that defense budget."
Yeah, I don't disagree.
You like do stuff like that where it's like, everyone signs up. Starting next week, everyone signs up for the VA, and everyone gets free healthcare through the VA. Stuff like that. I think it has to be big, hugely impactful, to the point where Congress has to say, "Whoa, okay, that's that. Let's not do it that way, but like let's have universal healthcare and let's pass a law, like so that we can like codify this a little bit." That's how I would. I don't know. In my
No, I don't disagree.
how
Like
the best case scenario would be,
like basically a taste of their own medicine type of thing.
Yeah.
That and
Yeah,
I don't disagree. As in like
you have to.
I think the next administration, if it's Democratic, like based off of having the UFC fights on the White House lawn, I think like the biggest drag show should take place like every day on the White House for like 4 years.
RuPaul's Drag Race, just have RuPaul's Drag Race the next season, just be having it in the White House.
I'd be all in favor of that. It's like if this is the path that you want to go down, just like double down.
Mm-hmm. White House, Pink House. We're changing it up. What are you talking about? What's wrong with that?
Like there was, if I remember correctly, there was a whole controversy or debacle around having whatever the trans flag represented on the White House at one point. And so it's like, well, if that's, let's say, in poor taste according to some people, but then the UFC is not, well then okay, like you open this can of worms. So I think Democrats, if or when they get into power, like they should double down. They're like, a whole season of RuPaul's Drag Race on the White House.
Exactly. What's up? And why not the president? I mean, what's the president doing? Trump's just like watching TV all day. Maybe the next president can be in the drag show. You know what I mean? Let's see a drag queen, drag king from the president. Let's see what's going on. From Chat Buckle. The issue is, I think that the Democratic voters are anti-authoritarian, Republicans are pro-authoritarian, so we can't use the same tools against them because we'll face consequences that they do not. But the problem, Buckle, is the constitutional loophole that the Trump administration has illuminated through this fascist kick that they have is this pro-authoritarian loophole or vulnerability that exists in our Constitution, and the Republicans, in order to say like we need to rein this back, have to kind of get some of their own medicine. You have to kind of like fight fire with water, and the fact that like, oh, okay, you were using the authoritarian parts of our government to spend $1 billion a day in Iran in order to cover up the Epstein files, in order to go after and shield Elon Musk from pollution lawsuits. We used it to improve healthcare, in order to improve quality of life through renewable and sustainable energy production, in order to increase technology spending. So like using those powers in ways that improve people's quality of life, and ways that even Republican voters are benefited from, but that the Republican Party is like, ideologically, that's going to hurt us. We can't just be like going that. We can't just keep allowing that to happen. That's how I see it.
I largely agree there, and furthering down the notion of pretty much a taste of their own medicine. Of like, I would say by my estimation, like a norm that has been broken is like, usually from what I understand, at least in my experience, based off what I observe, okay, during my lifetime, is like presidents don't typically like comment on past presidents, or Obama was turning into like trashing Bush, as far as I can tell. I'm sure there may be some comments here and there, but I don't think he ever like outright called like Bush like an idiot or whatnot, or like explicitly corrupt. But Trump seems to have broken that norm over and over, or rather, that's not a norm that he follows clearly. So I don't see any reason.
Still,
Obama
still
trashing Biden, Hunter Biden, and the entire Biden family, and Obama. That's like, I don't see any reason why the next Democratic president should not just like absolutely just trash the Trump family.
The problem is like, I think absolutely. I think that I mean, honestly, dude, I would have like, we would just remove Trump from the history books. Like, we don't even put his picture up on the presidential walk. We don't even recognize him. We say there was a president. We remove his presidency. We say his whole presidency is invalid because there was a constitutional amendment to stop people from being from being elected that supported insurrections. The Supreme Court ruled incorrectly on that. We disagree with the Supreme Court. He was an invalid presidency, so we wiped the entire slate with everything. So anything that happened during his presidency, all his presidential executive orders, everything that he did is rescinded and null and void, and we don't even recognize it anymore. That honestly, that is the case. That's how I would view it. How the Democratic Party should.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but I'm obviously biased. I just think that it's maybe a little bit too easy of a solution, as opposed to like just like I don't know. I think like every unflattering picture of Trump should just be like plastered all over the place during the next administration, just like whatever, laughed at and mocked.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Prime?
Maybe I'm being too petty. I don't know. Well, I'm probably.
Am I being petty? Do you think it? I mean, obviously, I'm giving like the 1% chance of actually happening. I don't think that that's actually going to happen. But I mean, do you think that that would actually be any type of progress?
No, and I'd be against it. I think that one, like, I don't see the point of erasing history. I mean, America tries to do that all the time with various abuses that it gets up to, and I don't support that. I think actually we need to learn more from our history. Trump is something that we shouldn't hide, right? Trump, especially, is a symptom of rot within our democratic institutions, in our society, right? Like this person, the people look at him as the cause, but he's not the cause. He's the symptom, right? This type of person got elected. People thought he was a democratic fluke before, right? And like, okay, maybe we just ignore it. Every country gets one of these, right? It's fine. But no, then he got reelected again. Like this shows an enduring flaw, an enduring problem within our societal makeup, right? That just like metastasizes into this person. No, in fact, Trump needs to be studied. He's going to go down as one of the most consequential presidents in our lifetime, like the most consequential presidents in our lifetime. And consequential, of course, doesn't mean good. It just means
badly consequential.
Yes, just the consequences have been awful. And we need to be to understand it. We can't like walk away from this. And why did America go down this path? I think Corey was right before when he was talking about how like these quote unquote loopholes. They're not even really loopholes, but like how he is just like taking advantage of like the rules, or it's more the lack thereof. Because this is closer to what Corey was trying to say. Like any government just has to work off of like faith that the people in charge will respect the institutions. Like once you put a person in charge, they don't respect the institutions, they can undermine them. Period. Right? And like they're in charge. They have power, and so from within the government, they can do whatever they please. Right? Like at some like you could. I mean, if Trump had the ability to, right, and he had the support, he could dismiss Congress, right? He could just do that. With the military, he could just say we're done with Congress. That's the thing of the past, right? So like if you don't respect these, they just don't like protect themselves, right? So like yes, you could do some tinkering on the edges to make it harder to do this or that, but like if it's a rule, then there's something else you can do. And then again, like sometimes he just like ignores them, right? Or he says like he has a power they clearly doesn't have, and then what you have to do, what was the remedy at that point? Well, you go to the courts, and you have judges go through that process. Judges that
like a 6 months to 1 year, 2 year process, right?
Yeah, right. And at the end, for a judge that he may put in place to have ruled on it. It's like I don't know, man. Like it's just kind of how democracy works. This is the consequences of the democracy. It's just how it works. And if you're the loser, you've got to sit there and take it at some point, really. But so like what to do, right? You talked about how Dr. Greg, you talked about fighting fire with fire, basically, right? To a certain extent, I'm with you here. right? Like, and I've been saying this as well, that like, hey, we should be like pushing along like our agenda. By our agenda, I mean my leftist progressive agenda, right? Not the liberal agenda. Those are two different things. But
Agreed.
still, at the very least, like we should be, when Democrats are in power, even their liberal agenda, right? Like they should be like pushing that through, but they refuse, and that's where your plan is going to fall apart because liberals are more concerned about process, and so though they will, as we've seen many times, right? They will say, well, the process isn't allowing me to do these things, right? And I have to defend the process because the process is what makes democracy function. And like,
Mhm.
I don't know, democracy seems to be, the country seems to be ticking along, like even if the process is being undermined right this second, right? But they're being undermined for the purposes of like corporate greed, for purposes of um uh like, well, RFK, right, and his agenda, right? So like, if I was going to undermine the processes, well, yeah, I'd rather undermine it for the reasons that you said, Dr. Craig, right? Like to
Mhm.
provide Medicare for all. So I would say, like, yes, I would agree with you that President AOC should use like do pretty much exactly what you said. That she should go in there and say, like, yeah, for national security's sake, right? Like, yeah, we all for defense preparedness, like everyone should have health
Exactly.
care, right? People are too
You
sick,
have to.
right? I would say that something that will happen. Like I would predict the Democrats would get in her way. The Democrats would do that.
I wouldn't
Um,
disagree with you. Like I think
yeah,
that is a problem of like even well, I think it's a problem now of like this aspect of decorum, which I understand that had utility maybe 10, 20 years ago, and that's how the process should have played out. But like relying on norms and decorum, I think clearly not working and probably not the way forward unless something dramatically changes in the culture or
But I'm confused though. I mean, we remove statues of Confederate soldiers and those type of people that are in history, right? These people are lauded and they're leaders. They're people that we teach in history books and that kind of stuff, but we remove their statues. So and I guess in my mind, like take away Trump what he loves the most and what his cult loves the most is that name recognition. By taking that away, we can talk about intersectionality, racism, fascism, all these different aspects that are evil and rooted in American culture and in
but
our nationalism
that's
without
different.
like focusing on Trump.
But that's different. One for one, right? The Confederacy were traitors, right? Don't care if your great granddaddy was part of the Confederacy. He was a fucking traitor. Screw your granddaddy. So like there's a reason why you can just like say like, well, we don't need to be teaching those, right? But also, right, why were those statues built? Right, those statues were built at a very specific point in American history. Right, pretty much most of those Confederate statues were built. I'm not going to tell you the decade now because it's going to
after
off the top of
after
my
the
head.
Civil War.
Yeah, but like significantly after the Civil War.
Yeah.
And but there was like a period of like 2 decades, right? That like that's where they were all built. And during this time, and again, I forget the exact time period, so I'm not going to like embarrass myself here. But the point is that during this time period, um, and leading up to it, right, there was an effort, right? There was a group called the Daughters of the Confederacy,
Yeah.
and they like made an effort to like insert into the American education system their ideas about the Confederacy, right? They provided books that like softened and like just like reimagined what like the whole situation was about, right? And it like the war of northern aggression. Like they just made up this BS, right? They like did history like for their own purposes, right? So that they could hide what it was actually about, right? So they could have a better view of well themselves, of Southern pride, right, and also of whiteness, of like hide the brutality of what this is all
Hmm.
about. But you know, we should be looking at the truth of what the Confederacy was, right? Not like praising Robert E. Lee, right? Obviously, right? Like we can
Yeah.
both agree on that. But like we should be looking at the truth teaching the truth, examining the truth, not turning away to pretending the Confederacy didn't happen, right? That's not the response, right? Like now, I mean, like we could take down those statues. I agree, taking down the statues, but like in terms of like dealing with what the Confederacy was, like what happened in America, right? What brought it about, the fight that happened and its aftermath, all that needs to be faced. And I would say the same thing about Trump, right? Like the conditions that brought him about, his actual presidency, and the aftermath that we're going to be dealing with for decades. I'm telling you, he's going to be the most consequential you've had in your entire lifetime, right? Like that we can't turn away from.
Agreed. Yeah, we're gonna have to have a second reconstruction, and that's my
I agree there.
my point with like that's the thing that I don't understand. I don't know how we get back. Like, I don't think that we could go through a rewriting of the Constitution. I don't think that I think that's dangerous. Bannon et al. Love the idea of a constitutional convention because they have so much power through capital now that they could rewrite the Constitution to be whatever they want, and it's extremely dangerous. So I would be scared of that. So we have to figure out ways of figuring out how to do this. NB in chat, I grew up being genuinely taught that the Confederate flag was not racist, was just culture. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of people thought exactly what Prime was saying. It's just like a war of northern aggression and stuff. It's wild. It's very dangerous. But
yeah. And
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and going back to like what we were talking about a lot of things, but again going back to what to do next. And one of my concerns, and it may be not maybe not a valid concern, but like I think as we has been alluded to, is like some people on the left want to take the approach of like, well, okay, to solve this problem with Trump, we need to again sort of like patch up the loopholes, or cover up those loopholes, as in come up with enough rules, and maybe that'll work. But again, I foresee that again with the appropriate bad actor, they're going to find a way around. And also, in my mind, like if you have to draft something that like tries to cover every single loophole, like you just have this massive document of a constitution. Is that really like a reflection of a good, proper, functioning society? Of like, I don't know. The example that I use is like, as far as I know, but someone correct me if I'm wrong. Of like, we don't have rules for just like standing in line. People just seem to like naturally kind of like line up. Outside of maybe COVID era and the rush for toilet paper, but like we all seem to recognize that, like generally speaking, and stores will enforce it. But I'm curious how it works out. Of like, if there's a lineup that like into the sidewalks, but then you have like someone cutting in line, is like, do the police have power to enforce that? I don't actually know, but like,
I mean, if the people are lining up, Corey, if people are lining up in the United States right now, it's for mini bags at Trader Joe's. That's true. Do you know about this? This is actually
I've heard of it, but I'm not exactly sure.
Literally, people are going like absolutely like tickle me Elmo crazy right now in the United States. There is like these little mini tote bags that Trader Joe's released for $3 or something, and there's like 4 different colors, and everyone's got to like have them all, and people are like lining up like half a mile down the block. It's just absolutely.
This is like the next Stanley mug, right?
Consumer capitalism gone amok, man. I have no idea.
But and I'm sure there have been this is the first time hearing it, but like I'm sure there have been some elements of chaos, but people recognize that like I probably need to stand in line, and like probably something is going off the rails if people are literally like crawling over themselves just to get a tote bag, right? I would say society is probably broken down, as if you now need to draft rules, okay, of like you need to stand like single file, and like you have to like place stickers of like footsteps on the ground saying hey stand here, okay, and we're gonna move single file in our line. I don't know that that's like the greatest functioning society.
Yeah, no, I think we're broke. I think Trump broke us. I really do. The Constitution's broke right now. It will be forever until we fix it, or I don't know. I think that is we either push down the road of fascism in the United States, or we try to fix this. And I don't know. I would say it's like 80% the first option, 20% maybe like a hopeful future of trying to actually change and fix these problems because they're so systemic now. It's you have to have the DOJ be outside of the executive branch. You have to have like some type of regulation where the Justice Department can actually enforce the presidency and enforce laws onto them so that they can't just claim national defense and immunity on every decision that it's just I don't if the Democrats don't do anything to really push this and to rein this in, like all we're going to do is that we're going to wait until the next. I think it's Don Jr. I think Don Jr. is going to be the next like the guy that comes in and takes it over.
Wouldn't surprise me.
So yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah,
It's a sad
and
day.
I obviously agree with you based on what I said. Like, I agree that things are broken, but like that, and that's why, based off of what I said, of like, I'm not sure patching over the loopholes is the right approach. Not that I'm opposed to it, but I don't think it's going to work out all that great, and that's why I lean towards of like, well, if this is how you're, if you're going to elect a bad faith actor and let this bad faith actor, run wild, okay, well, let's see when you have a Democrat in office and they are a bad faith, they're not the good faith actor that you expect. And like, yes, they find every trick in the book that your bad faith actor found, and they run their agenda. They run the same playbook. As in, once they see the consequences of their actions, maybe then.
I mean, we've already run through this, right? Like, with redistricting, right? Like, Republicans wanted to do this mid-century redistricting, which we don't do, right? We do it every 10 years during the census, but they're like, yeah, we're just gonna gerrymander the hell out of these districts. I'm like, okay, all right, well, we didn't want to do it. In fact, like blue states were like enacting laws for more fair districting, right? Like nonpartisan districting in which way. And like, yeah, we tried to like push that policy, tried to encourage it all over the country. But I guess we're going the other way. Well, then why should we unilaterally surrender, right? Well, okay, then we'll do it too. And it turns out, right, because Republican states were more gerrymandered than blue states. Blue states had a level of gerrymander, of course, right? But Republicans were already more gerrymandered. There's less juice to squeeze out of them, right? More juice to squeeze out of the blue states. And so, like, yeah, then they cried and cried, like, how is this fair? They said, amazing, right? Like, but like hypocrisy doesn't work, right? Like, you can't even like satirize these people. Like they like the law is to protect them and use against you, right? Like it's a blanket for them and a weapon to use against you. And so when it's turned around against them, they're shocked. What? No, not me. I'm supposed to be protected.
So from chat, the U.S. should take a page from Germany. They teach every school kid about the horrors that were committed in their name, and it's mandatory, including trips to death camps. They hide and whitewash nothing. But also, I mean, they're more extreme than what I'm even talking about. I'm just talking about removing like Trump as a figure that we teach about. They ban Nazi flags, and the Nazi party. So the question is, would you be okay with banning MAGA flags, banning the
no, I'm not necessarily in favor of that. Like I would to I don't know, to maybe give an example of how petty I'm willing to go. Of like, from what I understand, like Trump renamed the Gulf of Mexico Gulf of America, right? By executive order, and I think if certain media establishments did not like abide by that executive order, I think he threw out some media companies from the White House. I think he tried to enforce that. I think again, maybe as a sign of my pettiness or just me being childish, I think the next president, if they're Democratic, through executive order, they should rename it this is the Gulf of Trans Rights, and force every right-wing media company to call it the Gulf of Trans Rights.
Should we ban MAGA, Prime?
No, I mean, I don't know. That seems foolish to me. And I wouldn't, you're saying take him out of the history books. I mean, would you ban?
Well, I mean, take his name out. We don't school shooters. We shouldn't, and I don't think that we should publish their names in the newspaper. We shouldn't aggrandize them.
Not
And the
a
idea,
school
but
shooter, though.
the idea
He's a
is that like the idea is that like their names, like if you do this and you try to be this authoritarian dictator in the United States, like your name will be forgotten and you are nothing to us.
It won't be forgotten, right? Like all you're doing is doing a whole hidden knowledge type of thing, right? Oh, and people won't talk about them, right? And so it only attract more followers. And would you want Hitler to be hidden knowledge too? Like, would you say that his name should be stricken from the record? No,
but the Nazi Party's banned in Germany.
Yeah, and that's wrong. Oh, sorry. Well, sorry. That the well, okay. I don't like Germany's censorship. Period. Right? Like at all. Right now, it's being used against people who are Palestinian protesters. Like right now. So like I don't know. I'm torn on that particular issue, whether like the party itself should be banned and like whatever, right? But like even then, still, just like the commenter said, right? They teach about it, right? Like even if the Nazi Party is banned, they confront it. I don't think they confront it very well in Germany, right? Like it sounds like they do, but like from what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, and especially their support of Israel supporting the genocide, I don't think they've actually learned their lesson, right? Denazification went very poorly in Germany. Lots of those Nazis like really just went back to their previous jobs. Some of them were lawyers, judges, professors, right? They just kind of just went back to doing the previous thing. They, that was just it, right? So anyway, they did a poor job of denazification. But even then, right, it would have been worse. It would have been certainly much worse if they hadn't like talked about Hitler, right? Like in this great shame of theirs, right? That they'd be in a worse position. So yeah, I don't like this idea. We have to confront what Trump is. Everyone needs to learn from him, right? He needs to be like a Hitler, right? And just like be taught and like as a warning, don't do this.
I think the problem is like,
or even mocked or embarrassed. Like that's why I think like just every like unflattering photo of him to just like be plastered, and
you don't have to do that. Like you just have to like go like print his words, right?
Yeah,
he says the dumbest things, right?
I mean,
like,
I think they completely didn't they completely deconstruct Nazi Germany and like rewrite the Constitution and like. Yeah, I mean, I feel like without any type of reconstruction and really changing the blueprint of how this works, you're basically teaching people. You're basically teaching people like, hey, this is what you could do if you do this. It's crazy. Like Trump just claimed national security and national defense for all these reasons, and he was able to do all these executive actions. Isn't that wild?
But
like, I don't think that we literally like ban like the name Trump, right? Like go through and like they did with gay or something, and the government like just literally ban it. I'm saying like you teach the problems of fascism, authoritarianism, racism, misogyny, all these things, and those are the lessons to learn. Not like I fear just like putting him on a pedestal again.
Well, I understand your. I think, in my mind, like just teach. Like I'm obviously in favor of teaching everything that you just mentioned, but my concern is like without an actual concrete example, if you don't name the name, it's a little bit too abstract for people. If we're just leaving it in the abstract, and you don't actually ground it in reality to the person, I think that runs the risk of you're not taking it as seriously as.
And then it's not even that. Like other people, like it's not like you can even. Like this is crazy, right? This is nonsense. Like the information is out there. The Trump will forevermore be there. You can't erase him, right? All you'll do is like leave kids like the next generation like unmoored, right? Without having a proper understanding of history. They're gonna look into it themselves, right? And then other people are gonna fill in the gaps, right? Oh, you've never heard about this guy, but like there was this cool dude named Donald Trump, right? And look at all the things that he did. I'll tell you what he did, right? I'll fill you in on those details. And you're not going to like what they're going to say to them. So like instead, like more education to say that like this guy existed, right? This is how America's democracy failed, right? And what you were talking about, like basically the New York Reconstruction, well, that's a completely different policy objective, right? That's like actually, well, that's actually addressing issues, structural issues. You could, I'm in favor of that, right? I'm in favor of taking a look at our Constitution. It's clearly been failing us for multiple reasons, right? And trust me, I can rant about the reasons here. I gotta list them, right? But um like that's different from saying, oh, we can't talk about like this. The one of the biggest impetuses for changing, right? Like one of the biggest examples that we've seen for the failures of this document, right? Like we can't talk about it. Like it's crazy. And the only thing you can do, right, is just like ban or discourage his discussion in schools. But the information will be out there.
Yeah, I agree. It yeah, we can't remove it from the history books for sure. I would remove the statues of him that exist in, figuratively and literally, I guess. That's how I see it.
If there are actual statues, I'd be in favor of like tearing them down. I don't actually know.
Yeah, like all the ballroom changes, all the the changes that he's doing, to, like all those things. I would literally tear the buildings down. Take the names off the buildings. I don't care how much it would cost. I don't care if it costs $100 billion to change the White House, like back to what it was, or actually reconstruct it. It could be he has to be I think that's part of the reconstruction.
I'd be in favor of demolishing his ballroom. Like it's fine for me. Like if he didn't wait for permission to do that, and so like we were saying before, oh okay, then I guess I don't need, being a Democratic president, I don't need permission to demolish it, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to demolish it.
And if it's demolished, and I wouldn't be I wouldn't be against that. Probably largely in favor. I think it should be made like probably like a spectacle, or like whoever's hopefully if it's a Democrat in the White House, like they plan it as a celebration, and like I don't know, it takes place on their birthday. We're going to demolish this huge celebration, demolishing the ballroom, on our birthday.
Flag Day.
Yeah, exactly. The next flag, exactly.
The next Flag Day, we're burning it down.
And then you have your drag race show on the White House lawn, immediately afterwards.
I love it. Let's do it. Okay. Next up, guys. People, incredibly, guys, it just keeps happening. The viruses exist, and when you don't vaccinate people and you keep them in close proximity to one another, viruses spread. This is brand new. Just in, scores fall ill at Air Force Base after Hegseth makes flu vaccines optional. The defense secretary described the vaccine requirement lifted in April as an absurd, overreaching mandate. A flu outbreak has sickened nearly 160 troops at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas less than 2 months after the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced that U.S. troops would no longer be required to be vaccinated for the flu, defense officials said. The outbreak at the base in San Antonio raced through the Air Force Base military training wing, where new recruits sleep on bunk beds in open bays and share meals at large communal tables. A trainee in his 6th week of basic training died after falling ill on Friday and being taken to the Brooke Army Medical Center, the Air Force said in a news release. It was not immediately clear whether the death of the trainee, Keon McDaniel, was related to the flu outbreak. So they're reviewing it right now. So I mean, it's these anti-troop readiness, isn't something that is like these grandiose speeches where Hegseth is like drum beating, war drums and stuff in this nonsense, or going and saber rattling with countries and all that nonsense. This it's basic things like this, and the idea that like vaccines are an overreach. Imagine that these people are literally about to be weapons of war, and a vaccine is too much for them. Absurd and overreach.
Yeah, and well, so at least based off of the article, although I think the death is still being investigated, but it seems like there may be a death attributed to this policy or lack thereof, or the rescinding this backtrack on this policy. And like, you know, in addition to like the lack of troop readiness, or I think this clearly like endangers the troops. Like, isn't this also just like wasteful spending as well? Of like these people require greater health care. I don't know. To me, that seems like not fraud, but that seems like wasteful spending. Of like, these people didn't need this level of care, or like this level of care could have been almost certainly prevented 100%. And yet this just seems like a huge, giant waste of money. Well, just like the reflecting pool, huge, giant waste of money.
Yeah.
And do we get to categorize all of that as waste, fraud, and abuse? We should.
I know it is. It is. I mean, the idea that the increase in medical spending, just that's a good point, for sure. And people are literally losing their lives over it. The number's over 200 now. Wow. I mean, I'm not surprised. I guess it's a day later, so I guess this is out of date. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, how much of it is directly attributed to that? I don't know. I mean, the flu vaccine wasn't amazingly effective this year. The efficacy was lower than expected. So I guess like whether or not it's directly, I mean, you are decreasing the severity of symptoms with any type of flu vaccine. So whether or not it's a 100% match to the local outbreak strain, you know, you're still like, you're priming your immune system in order to, you know, deal with something like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't know, it just seems, well, I understand, like, I think the individuals that did not get vaccinated, I think are largely a victim, or at least I'm coming from a place of viewing them as victims of like, they just don't know any better, but rather if they do know better, but despite knowing better, they're choosing not to get the vaccine. Like, I don't know, that just seems like, I don't know, unpatriotic, or like, why would you not?
How do they get to decide? Like what is that? They get to like which part of their days do they get to decide? And now all of a sudden on vaccines, they're like, hey, you get a choice here. Like, what did they get a choice on? What else in their life, like as a soldier?
Oh yeah, because from what I understand, there's still like the policy of like it's mandatory to get like a measles vaccine. I think that's also highlighted in the article of like
exactly.
You can't opt out of every one. So like, you know, it's, you recognize that there's a clear risk, and now you're seeing that like almost like immediate consequences of backtracking on this policy. So it's like, you not recognize that this policy was in place for probably almost certainly good reasons, and you're seeing it play out here. So it's like waste of money, maybe potentially, hopefully, well, I mean, like, for sure, there is a person dead. Now, whether it's good or not, that if it's linked to the lack of vaccination, I don't know. But either way, I just view it as like, if you're signing up for the military, I assume there's some level of patriotism involved with that. But I'm sure there's multiple factors that go into, you know, signing up to join the military. But it's like, if you're signing up with the intention of like defending the country and being proud, wouldn't you want to be like in the best health possible? Why would you ever want to have any sort of risk whatsoever of like, being sidelined by the flu seems just like really weak.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's obviously in order to boost morale due to the people that had to be discharged due to the thank you stop stupidity that got because of the COVID vaccine, that all left because of that. You know, I definitely feel like it's something where he's trying to say like, we want you back, we're not doing any of that wussy stuff anymore. Like, this is, you know, we're calling ourselves the War Department, and we're all that kind of nonsense. So I think it's just this, just like everything else, it's performative nonsense. But this stuff, you know, when it comes to public health, it matters. People can like lose their life. It's actually a very important thing.
Yeah, no, and I'm hoping it stays contained. I think it was mentioned that it's up to now 200 people. I'm hoping it doesn't get larger than that. It would not surprise me if it does get larger than 200 people. But like, I'm curious. Well, I don't want any more people to lose their life. But like, if the body count starts stacking up, Like, at what point do you admit like you were wrong on this policy? And I'm like, hey, maybe we should go back to having this mandatory.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, man.
Like,
I don't.
if this one person, if through investigation it is found that, oh, it was linked to them, or we can confidently conclude that if they were vaccinated, this almost certainly wouldn't have happened. Would that be motivation enough, or like you need 2 bodies, or 3, or 5, or 10?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think it's. I don't know. I think it's. There's so much wrong. Prime, do you have anything to say on this one? Any thoughts?
I mean, Les, yeah, I mean, it's regular vaccine nonsense. Yeah, get yourself vaccinated. Try to avoid these things. Yeah, like you guys were saying. Well, there are some vaccines that are still required. I mean, they one way or other, this is going to happen because like what they picked was because for political reasons, right? Not because they're trying to make some sort of like stance on these things altogether. I mean, like you said, being in close quarters, right? Like there are certain um, uh, diseases that will really like put an army on its back, right? Like army camps throughout history have been like breeding grounds for diseases. We had vaccines that did a great job of like slowing that down or mitigating that, and still the military recognizes this, but for political reasons, they undermined some of those policies, right, to a certain extent, and even if it was a case that this is because of the flu, right, because of that, like it's completely foreseeable. But whatever, it was also foreseeable that trying to go to war with Iran would be a complete disaster. But we did that any which way, so whatever.
I mean, Prime, you're making such a good point. I mean, the first public health campaign in the United States was literally by George Washington inoculating the Revolutionary War troops against smallpox. And that's one of the reasons why we were able to win against the British. Like, so that's what's so wild to me when people think that public health campaign is somehow anti-American. It's somehow anti-American to think about, the health of well-being of someone else other than you. And I would argue that even in the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. How are you going to pursue happiness when you're diseased? How are you going to feel liberated if
Don't
you
judge.
feel
Some
like...
people might find a state of happiness, with the flu or measles or all of the above. that might be, the ultimate source of happiness.
Self-pity. Yeah. Maybe they're pro-viral. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I want to be an inoculum. Yeah, exactly. The flu results in 45,000 to 50,000 deaths per year in the United States. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, real quick, this is pretty weird. It's a very weird one. This is a weird story. So Fauci funded Wuhan lab research that sparked COVID. So basically, this was something that Tulsi Gabbard made a X post video about, saying that they had released and found all this information that linked, Fauci to this lab leak and nonsense that we know scientifically has never been shown. There is not a single piece of scientific evidence that's ever shown that SARS-CoV-2 came from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. We have literally dozens of publications now that show that it came from bats and coronaviruses in bat caves all throughout China, and we can show population genetics and where it came from. It's so, and we have stall by stall evidence, and they sampled the drains.
Yeah, pretty good forensic evidence.
I mean, it's and they didn't even have anything that was related to SARS-CoV-2 in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. I mean, it's just nonsense. But here's the press release, guys. And this is the problem, is that, and you had this during the time of when it was actually happening. You had the Republican House releasing House reports that, if you actually read them, had no scientific basis whatsoever. It was just basically Slack and email messages of like Fauci, and that was somehow supposed to be scientific. I thought it was like an absolute joke, but here it is. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, Anthony Fauci, as head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, provided millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund dangerous gain-of-function research on bat coronaviruses at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, work which is now widely viewed as the source of the unintentional lab leak that sparked the COVID pandemic. Obviously, this is not true. What's wild is that there was a whitehouse.gov page on COVID outlining what it is, like what was happening. They forwarded it to a conspiracy website that's on whitehouse.gov showing that the source was a lab leak. Of course, that's not true, a conspiracy, but a loss since it's on whitehouse.gov. People believe it. Again, here's from the release. Today, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard is releasing never-before-seen communications and documents exposing how Anthony Fauci worked with politicized career leadership in the intelligence community to suppress the truth about his actions, the virus's lab leak origins, and his role in directing U.S. funding to his dangerous research that caused immeasurable harm and countless lives lost. And I guess my point has always been in this stuff. It doesn't matter if and look at all these, they're just emails, guys. I mean, we're looking at it right now. It's just emails upon emails. It doesn't matter if, oh my gosh, look at all these redactions. Everything is redacted.
Yeah, no, I started going like everything. I haven't gone through everything, but like each of I think there was like 5 links to documents, and like each one is like 100 pages, and like yeah, it's just like a flood of information, and like there's a lot of redactions, but like everything that I have browsed through, there's definitely nothing incriminating there.
Yeah,
just nothing true.
Oh, here we go. Here's RFK's email just randomly. RFK and Children's Health Defense Call, which is like a Children's Health Defense, which is an anti-vaccine thing that he ran for congressional investigations into COVID origins. So it's just that he was calling for it somehow is okay, or shown to be proof. Again, like it doesn't matter if there was an email of Anthony Fauci saying, "I did it, guys. It was me. I did the lab leak myself." It doesn't matter. There is a fact of the matter, right? There is a truth out there, and we should be able to, through science, independent investigative journalism, and fact-finding missions, and through the scientific method, we should all be able to create a body of evidence that exists outside of these email chains to show that this virus came from this lab, and it just doesn't exist. That's the thing. And that's what's so frustrating about this, is that people will link this as somehow a evidence, and it doesn't matter, guys. People lie. And Fauci didn't lie, but I'm just saying that they could release things out of context. They could, and a lot of times, Corey, you know this. I mean, scientists are very incredulous on the evidence that they say, and they say that it supports. So if you say that your protein, if we're working on like a protein and you're in it, it says it has increased binding affinity or something like that, I'm gonna say, why do you think that it has this binding affinity?
What's your evidence to back that up? I can talk all day about binding affinity, and
yes,
if you're using computational data to back that up, I'm never gonna trust binding data for generated from computation.
But it could be that the binding affinity is higher, but you are in good faith saying that I don't trust this, and this is how I would trust this. But the thing is, and guess what? That email talking and highlighting you giving these lists of tests is taken out of context by non-scientists and saying, "Oh my gosh, look at that." Greg was saying that Corey's protein doesn't have the right data, and in reality, we are just creating better. That's the peer review process. That's how this stuff works. That's how science is so strong.
Yeah, and that's why, it's a difficult conversation or problem to solve, because, as mentioned, even I think in Tulsi Gabbard's whatever tweet, and like there's this, and I think as you brought up, it's like they're incriminating Fauci for a number of things, but also like, yeah, he would ever approve the funding for the gain of function research, and like so there's a lot of claims to fact
Yeah,
check there.
exactly.
Was there actual funding? What was the level of funding? And like, was it gain of function? And like, that's where I think a lot of misunderstanding, because like that phrase and term gets thrown around a lot by people not truly understanding what that means, or like, or not recognizing that there's no universal accepted definition of gain of function. And like many things, if we're using like some strict definition, like just about, you almost like would ban just about any amount of research. Like gain of function
Yeah.
is not necessarily reserved for just viruses and viruses alone.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that the I think that there's like the molecular biology term of like, and then there's the colloquial common parlance like term.
Yes.
Gain of function is just kind of like my anti-cancer algae that we're targeting non-Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 1 cells. Like those are gaining that function in order to attack those things. That is creating that immunotoxin that's latching onto that cell, and that's gaining that function that didn't exist before, right? That but what happens here in the viral labs is that they are, and this is like what more molecular biology based term is, basically how does these mutations create changes in what this viral particle can do in terms of latching, changing its aerosolization, its affinity,
binding affinity,
its binding affinity, like we were talking about. Exactly. So all these cornucopia of changes, and how are these single nucleotide changes gaining that function of that second order impact. So that's what this research is, and that's why it's so important. Actually, it's like, it's really important for us to know what's going on, how it's and we know that from like hantavirus, right? That we understand how hantavirus works, so we can see, hey, this doesn't have pandemic potential, guys. It's okay. Ebola or something like that. Like how we can understand these mutations better allows epidemiologists to track population genetics, virologists to understand what to look out for, like in specifically what's happening. And yeah, exactly. The idea that the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease is the one that's like the huge funder of worldwide research in virology. Like that just doesn't, that's not how it works. That isn't where the massive pools of money come from. It's not signed by like Fauci himself, and he's not linked to it, but they're just incredulously like trying to link them.
Yeah, and also going back to this aspect of gain of function, like, and here's where it's like, it's a difficult conversation to have, because like understandably, people outside of molecular biologists or life scientists don't quite understand what that term means in a more technical sense. Where I don't know if you remember, when there was like whatever, when I think Rand Paul was like interrogating Dr. Fauci and like waving a paper of like, oh, here's the proof that you funded gain of function research, and it's in this paper, and it's trying to like cite this paper, and like, if you actually look at that, and I'm curious, if like, so if you want to ban gain of function research, okay, well, you should understand what the implications of that, like, to me, there's consequences to that, and it's like, and also like, the paper, okay, the paper that Rand Paul was like citing or using to like incriminate Dr. Fauci, or like trying to prove that he funded or was involved in funding gain of function research, like that was a paper on like finding the origins of I think SARS-CoV-1, or the original SARS. And it's like, well, what if you need to carry out gain of function research to find out the origins of a virus? Would you be in favor of that? As in, like, what if you need to carry out gain of function research to find out the origins of SARS-CoV-2? Would you say, well, we can't carry out that research, so then we should not find out or go down that road? But there's like, I understand, and there's a point to be made of like, there are risks to this type of research depending on how you actually carry out, because not all, like, it's a totally low resolution term of like a gain of function. As in, what if the gain of function is like it more easily dies or is less transmissible? That is a gain of function, technically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
and so all that to say is like, there's a conversation to be had, but I don't think you can have it in any meaningful
They
way.
did a viral evolution study of lab strains of the. Oh, thank you, Stop the Stupidity. They did a viral evolution study with basically comparing how these viral genomes evolve inside of a lab environment versus outside in an environment, and obviously that there was, obviously SARS-CoV-2 matched the rate of evolution that would be seen in a natural zoonotic spillover event. But they did find, which was really interesting, that they did find there was some outbreak in like 1970s of like some type of flu that they was supposedly was connected to. It wasn't like a pandemic, but it was an outbreak virus of something that did happen in the lab. So it was a good like a proof positive that it is possible in order to see. So it's interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But all that said, like, well, because I think even RFK Jr. himself like retweeted Tulsi Gabbard's tweet, and like they're framing Dr. Fauci as a criminal. I'm
exactly.
Like, well, if he's a criminal, and I think they're almost like explicitly linking him to like more or less like he's responsible for all the deaths that took place during the pandemic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, as if Trump wasn't the president and had more to do. That's the craziest thing to me, because you talk to a lot of these MAGA people, and when I debate them, I ask this. I'm like, who's president? And they're like, yeah, but who was really running the show? It wasn't Trump. It wasn't Trump that was doing it. It was
Fauci. A helpless babe, right?
Yeah, exactly. Trump is normally in the background of things. He doesn't go forward, and he doesn't put his face on everything. He works in the background.
Fauci, right, who's like, was it 5'6" or something, came into the White House and beat him up.
And I think at the time he's like 78 or 80 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, they're both geriatrics, but like
exactly.
It's interesting that how, like, I mean, some people will say that Biden was in charge. They really have edited it's amazing. They've edited their memories, right? No, like something bad. I associate something bad happening, and so it must have been Biden in charge. Like, unbelievable. Like, or even like the development of the of the vaccine, right? And was it the Operation Warp Speed? It's like, what, like, you guys hate the vaccination, right? But like President Trump was the one who was like touting how under his leadership they managed to create this they managed to put the finishing touches on a vaccine that had been like worked on for like a long time. The technology has been worked on for a long time, but still, right, like they managed to like get this out to address this novel virus, and that was a big thing that they were advertising. And then until I guess Margaret doesn't like it. Okay, well, actually we had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, never mind. Wait. Yeah, exactly. You guys you like it? Oh, never mind.
Yeah, whatever.
But speaking of bullying, guys, we shouldn't bully Trump. Okay, it's not nice of us. We got because RFK Jr. is under fire for bullying letters to a scientific journal. He does this a lot. There was that study in Denmark that was the biggest of all time in the idea of, basically, it was 1.5 million kids over 25 years looking at neural development in response to different types of adjuvants in vaccines, and basically saying that aluminum and all the different things that are in vaccines are safe because they tested the entire vaccine schedule all together. So all the caveats they always put in everything. He hated it so much. He tried to get it retracted, and he was trying to bully one of the journals in order to get it retracted. So he kind of continues here. Health advocate criticized Kennedy's move, demanding answers from the journal that removed the flawed vaccine study. So basically, RFK Jr. is demanding answers from a medical journal that recently removed a paper suggesting a link between vaccines and infant death, saying their decision was of great interest to me, end quote. Public health advocates immediately criticized the move and said Kennedy appeared to be trying to intimidate and influence the journal's editorial process. The journal Toxicology Reports had removed the paper this spring after editors determined it is so seriously flawed it could harm patients and pose a risk to public health. The letter, which Kennedy on Monday posted on X, asked the journal editor to answer questions about how it arrived at its decision about the paper, which suggested a link between vaccines and sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS, by June 25th. Among its questions, Kennedy asked the journal to identify the experts who conducted the investigations into the paper. Quote, if he is trying to use his position to bully a journal, he is stepping close to violating the First Amendment rights, end quote. Dorrit Reese, an expert in vaccine law at UC Law San Francisco, wrote in a reply. So it's, go ahead, Corey.
I was gonna say, like, I mean, I'm glad it's the study was retracted, but I think there's a conversation to be had, because like it's
how to get there.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly was my next question. Of like, there's a conversation to be had of like, how did this pass peer review and how was this published to begin with? Like, not that I like at the end of the day, like Elsevier is like a valid whatever journal conglomerate, although my view of them like just degrades over time, or like
so true.
So true. Degrades over time, but that holds true just about for every conglomerate of journals. But like Elsevier seems to be like really taking a nosedive over the years, in my opinion. But like, yeah, but so yeah, I'm glad it's retracted, but the fact that it had to be retracted and it was published, like, it allows RFK Jr. to more or less, like, you know, sort of get an optical win for whatever his audience, of like, oh, they're censoring this study because they don't want the truth to be out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want him to have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think it's just completely... Exactly right. How is this getting out there? What in Elsevier? That's really funny that you're saying that. Obviously, it's like very inside baseball scientists.
Yeah, I don't expect many.
The UC system is like very adversarial to the Elsevier. They're very tough, and famously, UC actually stopped funding their library subscription to Elsevier, so which caused an entire thing to happen.
Good. I mean, they were legit. I guess they still are legit, but like, I don't know what happened. Maybe I just haven't looked into it.
Yeah.
But like, I used to actually respect them, whatever, 15 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, yeah, exactly, man. Like what? But hey, I guess give them the chance to remove it. But there you go. I love Gorski, who's always been. Gorski's been one of the physicians that's always been involved with this anti-vaccine stuff and really pushing back on X and science Twitter back in the day. Dr. David Gorski, a surgical oncologist who has written extensively about the anti-vaccine movement, pointed out in a post that Kennedy has portrayed himself as pro-free speech and that he was apparently using the power of his position to put pressure on an editorial decision by a private publisher. To anti-vaxxers, it's free speech for me, but not for thee. I love that. So, and it's, again, it happens every single time. Like RFK uses his power, his position in the government in order to try to get any publication retracted that he doesn't like, without producing any actual research himself in regards to this, any new studies or new.
And he now has the resources to carry out a study.
He does, and the problem is like now, especially with the stuff that's going on, we have the McCullough Institute, which now they're having this problem, right? And they're basically saying, well, if you're not going to be our publication, source, you're going to bully us, make us prove things. We're going to make our own publication. So McCullough, which is the disgraced medical doctor that had his license removed.
I think he was like a cardiac surgeon at one point, or
yeah, he got his license removed because he was going around during COVID with nothing but a PowerPoint telling people that people were losing their life because of the COVID vaccine, which is completely wrong. And so it was complete misinformation. And so now he, again, failing upward, now he's the king of his entire publication. He's the editorial discretion, and they're going to be able to put out disinformation on these in this lab, in this publication. And before, and you saw it everywhere, right? Where just a DOI number on a preprint server was enough in order to get people to think this is amazing, this is good, this is what I want, because it looks official, it has it has an abstract. They don't know it's on a preprint server, they don't know it hasn't been peer reviewed. And then now it's going to look even better, it's going to have a nice PDF, there's going to be there's good figures to it. So the disinformation is getting harder and harder to go through, when McCullough is creating this stuff now. And the problem is that you have people like the Americans for, it was like Doctors for American Liberty or something. They're going through and they were all MDs that were like, pushing this nonsense during the pandemic, the heart of the pandemic. And one of them, the head of the organization actually went to jail. I forget why, but it was, yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah, it's tough. I occasionally, come across on my Twitter feed of like, the Peter McCullough's journal, or like someone were tweeted, or like, oh, published in Peter McCullough's journal. I can't remember the name. I think it isn't something along the lines of like whatever, basically the Peter McCullough journal, or like isn't his name incorporated into
it's McCullough Institute or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know, how is that not a red flag? No, right off the bat anyways. I don't know what other journals like named after a person. But I see people retweeting out like the publications for the McCullough Institute, saying, oh, now new publication now proven, all the stuff all the conspiracy theories. But like, yes, as you correctly said, like this gives the air of legitimacy. And like a nice publication with nice figures, and so people will view it. There's some people that will view it like, oh, this must be legit. This must have gone through some sort of like rigorous analysis, when it clearly did not. If you just peel back the surface just a little bit.
I mean, yeah, I guess I would agree with you. Yeah, that's like the point. It's just how we interact with information in general. In this case, more specifically, science communication. Like, I don't know, man. Like for instance, you guys were talking about like the gain of research stuff, and the Wuhan lab thing. But I, was quiet because like I mean, I don't have the expertise to parse any of that, right? I would have to rely on people like you who had more experience within this field, who can tell me what we're looking at, what documents are important, how people communicate in the field. I thought that was really interesting what you guys were saying there, right? Like I certainly wouldn't have that insight into like, oh, this type of banter, right, isn't anything alarming or incriminating or anything like that. Like, obviously I can't have that insight. And so when we're talking about like this McCullough Institute, right, like, all right, well, what we've done is we trained the public to say, like, okay, well, things have to get peer reviewed, right? Like, experiments or whatnot, right? Have to get peer reviewed. And then they're published in a quote unquote peer reviewed journal. And then that is your font of knowledge. Okay, well, we tell people that, then you can just create a journal and put whatever you want in there, and people will take that. Okay, this is our knowledge base, right? And why shouldn't I? I mean, like, this is in a journal too. Like, people don't know like which journals are real or which ones should be taken seriously. And even like the quote unquote good journals have not covered themselves in glory, right? We've had a lot of retractions of important studies that have been, even in the ones we could all agree is overall reputable. But still, when these things happen, they undermine the whole system. But, if that's the system, then yeah, just like create your own and put whatever in there. And again, how we interact with these things is that either we read these things in an article, right? Or somehow like a podcast or something will bring it up or whatever, right? And then we like share it. Like, okay, this person who presumably has looked into this has analyzed it, and they're saying that this data, right, this paper within this journal is legit, and it proves this point, and that's how interactive it is. Then I'll just share it with everyone else, right? And so, like, yeah, I don't know how to solve this issue. I don't know like what there is to do, like, because just as people who are lay, right, lay individuals who don't have any idea, like in the end, like other people do the same thing, right? Like this, like again, according to you guys, McCullough Institute is not something that's trustworthy. I never heard of this guy before, right? But it's not trustworthy. But for all those other news, sorry, journal entries, right? Uh, like we don't. The average person doesn't spend their time like going through that paper and then checking it to see like, oh, this makes sense, even understanding it. They do. They get it all the same way. So like, I don't like, even if it's a legitimate study, like spreading legitimate knowledge, it's still the same problem. So I have no idea how to solve this.
Yeah,
It's
no,
tough, man.
you bring up
Even
a great point.
go for it.
I'll just be very quick. Where, yeah, everything that you brought up is true, and uh, it's even it's getting more and more increasingly difficult to sift through of like what's let's say the correct or let's say valid or accurate information versus not, because like yes, let's say I'm sure probably Prime, even you intuitively or would have intuitive sense of like if you came across like a paper from the McCullough Institute, you probably would have almost from like right off the bat, an air of skepticism, like something seems off here. But like as me and Greg sort of alluded to, of like there are now let's say quote unquote legitimate journals that like seem to be degrading like Elsevier. Like again, 10-15 years ago, someone cited a paper from one of the journals from Elsevier, I take it seriously. Like now I don't. Or like there's a huge asterisk of like I need to do some due diligence here. Of, like this is actually legitimate. And same thing with like it's as in like even let's say the quote unquote legitimate or actual what are usually typically well respected journals are no longer like let's say rigorous and should not be taken seriously. And I don't expect the general public to like keep track of that or like I understand why they wouldn't, because like I would not expect any non-scientist to be aware of like, yeah, Elsevier, I would say in the trash now. In addition to, in my opinion, like MDPI and Frontiers as well. But that's just like, I guess, my opinion. But I'm always like, I used to take, at least, I was always pretty skeptical of MDPI. But now I think my skepticism has more or less been proven true. But like before I was actually taking them somewhat seriously, but now it's like, there's no reason to take them in my opinion. But all that to say is like I don't expect the general public to be aware of like a paper from one of the journals from MDPI, almost certainly not good, or you should be very careful in citing them. Same thing with Frontier, same thing with Elsevier. And so it's like, yeah, I don't know. I agree with you. I don't know how to solve this problem, but I see that it's an ever increasing problem.
I mean, the Lancet published the Wakefield study in the 90s.
True.
That was like, so it's like, and the problem is that it's
and
always
it took a while to get retracted.
Exactly. It's a chink. The problem is it's a chink in the armor of accountability. And I was talking to someone today, where it was, there was someone, Fauci made questionable statements at the very beginning of the pandemic talking about the effectiveness of masks because he felt that there was going to be a huge run on masks and healthcare officials needed them. So they had USPS, like they were going to mail everyone a mask, and Trump canceled that, which is wild. And then two, he Fauci went around and he had 60 minutes. It was like an after the interview 60 minutes clip that was on the internet, and it went around the anti-vax circles because he was saying that masks were ineffective if you had viral particles on your hand and you touched your face anyway, putting a mask on. So unless you're being clean anyway, you're probably you're gonna get yourself sick. So they're probably not that effective right now. So it's like you know, it, and basically that's quote mined in this guy's head now forever. Now it's science can't be trusted, and he didn't get a vaccine because of it. And which was like the vaccine didn't come out for like a year after that statement that Fauci made. So and in terms of like personally, how I as a scientist understand this stuff is like there's a volume, right? There's a volume thing. You can have one study that says something, but outlandish evidence, grandiose claims require a grand amount of data, right? And one study doesn't mean a consensus. But there's like a huge body of publications and consensus that like these mRNA vaccines, not just are they the future for medications and anti-cancer drugs, but they're the unintended consequences is that they have they're protecting you from cardio problems. They're protecting your heart. They're people that had cancers are actually living longer with cancers because it boosts your immune system and it makes tumors more susceptible to anti-tumor medications. So we're actually finding that they're having unintended side effects on the side of protecting your health, protecting your heart, protecting protecting your health in general. So it's the other way. It's the other side of all this stuff. And but that's just what we're faced with, as science communicators trying to say like there's a big difference between what Anthony Fauci says on 60 Minutes that gets spammed a million times on social media versus all the studies that are done that you don't even see on social media, but because people don't see it in their algorithms, it doesn't exist. It's very frustrating, but I know it's late, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming. That was a really great night. I appreciate you guys. That was awesome.
Likewise.
Do you want to go with the outros? If you want to add anything else to say, go ahead. Let's just let you whatever.
The last thing that I'll say is like as like a pin in like the fact that the ever increasing problem. Another problem that I want to highlight, maybe we talk about in the future, of like from what I can tell, the rise of AI generated content, especially even now in like what are typically considered, generally good YouTube communicators. Like they appear to now be using ever increasing AI generated images that are just of like really poor quality. Of like, did you want to show a molecular structure, but like it's clearly like just not the correct molecular structure because it's AI generated. As in like there's a specific video that I came across by Rena Malik. I don't know if you know Rena Malik, but she's an OBG, I believe an OBGYN, and like generally, a successful science communicator and generally considered a valid source of medical information. But like there was a couple of videos of like they just used an AI generated image and trying to show like I think it was like the molecular structure of like estrogen or testosterone because they were talking about hormones, and I was like clearly off.
Dude, I found there was people like some related streams on my YouTube, literally 45 million subscribers, and every day they put out a 3-hour video and like 10 30-minute videos completely AI generated, all by this one app or website that they're basically like selling. It's like a selling ad, and they get like 50,000 views a day on their stuff. And I'm just like, and it's talking about like scientific stuff, like scientific studies, the history of this, the history of volcanoes, the history of plutonium or whatever. And you're like, well, who's gonna like watch this? This is wild. But I have no idea.
But people like the slop. I don't know.
I don't get it.
And it's not. I don't think it's good.
I don't even think it's either good either.
I don't know what
I don't
to
know.
Do,
and I do use AI for my like thumbnails and stuff because I don't know what to do. I don't know. It's very tough, dude. People say they don't like
a thumbnail
AI.
is different than
falsifying data. Yeah, false. And we already had,
or like just showing a bad molecular structure, just like not accurate.
Like, we already had the Photoshop scandal was Alzheimer's research, or was it? Yeah, it was Alzheimer's research, right? They were faking Western blot data by copying that didn't exist, and they were copy and pasting them on the. So in decades of Alzheimer's research was erroneously pointed in a wrong direction because researchers were falsifying data. That's legitimately a gigantic problem.
Huh?
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, we could go forever on this. Thank you, Prime and Corey. Again, you're amazing. You got another super chat. Thank you, Prime and Corey, for always participating. You guys are always great to talk to, and I really look forward to these chats.
Thank you for the kindness.
Find me on Twitch, YouTube, Kick, also. Prime Kai, PRIMECAYES. We do debates. It's a lot of fun. Come check it out. And yeah, it was enjoyable.
Yeah, the Riveries on Monday nights, right, Prime? What time is it?
8 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can find me on Twitch, CoreyCam84. Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, Substack, TikTok, and despite everything I just listed, not Kick. I guess I should get on Kick. It's Corey Campbell. And yeah, as always, this has been great. And look forward to next week.
Imagine not being on Kick. I mean,
I know. What a loser am I.
Yeah. I'm a loser. Whatever.
Take care. Be well, everyone. All right. For anybody still that has stuck around, thank you. Anybody that's still stuck around, although thank you, Buckle, for passing by. Always a pleasure. Thank you, Zeron, for passing. Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. And anybody else that passed by that I missed or forgotten, I apologize. But yeah, that's it for today. Should be back next week with, another round of articles to talk about and other controversies and probably bad decisions by the administration to talk about.